Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Keisha Pollock Porter, and I have the privilege and honor of being director of the Health Policy Research Scholars Program. I'm also a professor at the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health. Thank you for joining us today for this applicant webinar. Closed captioning is available for this presentation by clicking the closed captioning symbol at the bottom of the Zoom window to toggle on and off. Today, I'm pleased to share information about a national leadership program called Health Policy Research Scholars. This is a tremendous opportunity for second-year doctoral students who are preparing to be leaders in creating healthier, more equitable communities. The Health Policy Research Scholars Program is intended to enhance, not replace, enhance the doctoral experience. Scholars will remain at their respective institutions and receive a variety of supporting programming, which includes mentoring, skill building in health policy, health equity and population health, participation in leadership development trainings, and establishing and strengthening professional ties to industry leaders. The program is led by the Johns Hopkins University Bloomberg School of Public Health and funded by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. Here's the agenda for today's webinar. First, we'll walk through the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation's Culture of Health vision and framework and how the HPRS, or Health Policy Research Scholars Program, fits within that context. This information should be helpful for you to answer the related essay questions in the application. Then we'll walk through how the Health Policy Research Scholars Program is structured, the types of scholars we are looking for, and who is eligible to apply. The last part of the presentation portion of the webinar will focus on the application itself and tips to submit a strong application. And the Deputy Director of the Health Policy Research Scholars Program, Lori Unruh, will lead that section of the webinar. We're then going to be joined by one of our Cohort 2020 members of our program, Mikkel Wright, who will share some reflections on her application experience and stay with us through the end of the presentation to answer your questions. So I'm really excited that we'll have Mikkel with us, and between what I share and what Lori shares, you should feel confident in being able to complete the application. Thank you to everyone that submitted questions when responding to the webinar. We've done our best to incorporate answers to your questions into the presentation where appropriate. Please use the Q&A function in the webinar and submit questions along the way. We will leave time at the end to address your questions as well. After the webinar has ended, HPRS program staff and Mikkel will be on Twitter answering any remaining or additional questions using the hashtag HPRS office hours. I hope that you join us. Finally, as you know, we are recording this webinar, and we will be posting a link to the recording and the slides on our website in the next few days. So let me start by telling you about building a culture of health. The Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, or RWJF, is the nation's largest philanthropy focused on health. The foundation invests millions of dollars each year in work that shifts policies, systems, and communities to create a more equitable society, improve access to healthcare, and produce healthier communities. You may have heard that the foundation is working to build a culture of health. Well, what is a culture of health? A culture of health is a national movement driven by the belief that every single person has an equal opportunity to live the healthiest life they can, whatever their ethnic, geographic, racial, socioeconomic, or physical circumstance happens to be. A culture of health embraces a more integrated, comprehensive approach to health, encompasses both healthcare and the many other critical factors that impact people's health, ranging from early childhood education to education, housing, jobs, built environment, child development. So the whole lifespan is what we include here. Building a culture of health also requires unprecedented collaboration with everyone playing a role. Everyone, including parents, co-workers, neighbors, civic leaders, policymakers, and the private sector. This work is critical now more than ever. Over the past few decades, efforts to improve health in the US have been focused primarily on the healthcare system. More recently, we have started to recognize that health is greatly influenced by complex social factors. Thus, in order to truly improve health, we have to address those factors, those root causes of poor health and inequities. This is the Culture of Health framework that illustrates 4 main action areas, all encompassed by equity. This framework guides the Health Policy Research Scholars Program and the other 3 change leadership programs funded by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. The framework places health and well-being at the center of everyone's lives. The 4 RWJF change leadership programs broaden the foundation's investment beyond health and healthcare to engage diverse sectors, fields, and professions. In other words, this model recognizes that it takes all of us working together to break down entrenched barriers to health equity. The Health Policy Research Scholars joins this larger network of RWJF grantees and the Change Leadership Program alumni who are all committed to health equity. As part of the RWJF's commitment to a culture of health, the foundation has made a significant investment in developing the leaders who will take us there. These are the 4 leadership programs that the foundation started as part of its effort to build a culture of health. These 4 programs are each designed to engage a different group of leaders in a unique way. The result will be a strong network of leaders collaborating to disrupt the status quo and make our culture healthier and more equitable. In the Clinical Scholars Program, teams of healthcare providers from different disciplines work together to take on a challenging problem, reaching beyond their clinic to impact the health of the entire population. Culture of Health leaders engages people from different health and non-health fields to drive important change in every sector. Think education, transportation, housing, etc. Interdisciplinary research leaders is for teams of researchers and community leaders from every field. They collaborate to address a pressing community need, ensuring that research is defined by and ultimately benefits the community. As you can see, there are opportunities here for many different people and perspectives, and it will take leaders from every field, health and non-health alike, to realize this vision of a culture of health. Now that you have a sense of how HPRS fits into the broader network of change leaders who are building a culture of health, let's dive into HPRS, and I'll take a few minutes to walk through the program admission requirements and the program components. Health Policy Research Scholars, or HPRS, is designed to develop a community of researchers in leadership positions who are initiating and engaging in interdisciplinary work across different fields, sectors, and industries. The purpose of this very unique program is to train leaders to do this type of work early, at the doctoral stage of their training, in order to ingrain collaboration and a focus on equity as a part of students' mindsets. As I said earlier, HPRS training is meant to complement your doctoral studies, and the training occurs concurrently with your doctoral program. Here's a brief overview of the program by the numbers. HPRS is a 4-year program that begins during the student's 2nd year of their doctoral program. For the upcoming year, this current cycle, we will select up to 40 scholars. Each scholar receives $30,000 per year award, which they can use for living or research expenses, childcare, transportation, and so on. Scholars will also have the opportunity to compete for a dissertation grant of up to $10,000 as they get further along in their doctoral program. The program progression is the same whether you participate for 3 or 4 years, because the program requires a minimum of 3 years left in your doctoral studies. In the 4th year of the HPRS program, scholars participate in professional development webinars, policy-related webinars, writing accountability groups, dissertation supports, and other activities. The core curriculum for HPRS is during years 1 through 3. That's why applicants must have at least 3 years remaining in the program when they begin HPRS. Scholars receive the annual $30,000 in award funding each year they're in the program for up to 4 years or until they complete their doctoral program, whichever occurs first. When reviewing applications for HPRS, we are looking for leaders who are committed to conducting research that's aligned with the needs of communities, centers health equity, and is actionable. Leaders who are interested in translating their research into evidence-informed health policy. Leaders who are interested and willing to use interdisciplinary approaches. And leaders who want to use research and apply leadership skills to becoming a change agent, all in hopes of developing a more equitable and conducting actionable research that will inform policy change in the US. This is one of the most important application tips that we are sharing in this webinar. These 4 points are a useful guide for writing a strong application. We want you to demonstrate that you have considered how your journey to where you are now, your current work, and your future goals align with these 4 points. So really reflect on this slide and think about the types of leaders we're seeking and how you fit with these goals. Eligible applicants must be entering their 2nd year of doctoral studies in fall 2021 and be enrolled as a full-time student in a graduate degree program in a college or university in the US or its territories and have research competency in their discipline. So again, this research doctoral program is what we're looking for. In order to be eligible to apply, you must be a US citizen, permanent resident, or individual with DACA status. Participants will participate in HPRS from their home institution. Training, mentoring, and networking will happen via several required in-person meetings and frequent virtual training sessions over the course of each academic year of the program. In-person programming will be held virtually until it's safe for us to convene together. One of the things I love about HPRS is that the participants include scholars from a diverse mix of disciplines. Any research-focused discipline that can play a role in advancing a culture of health, not only from public health or health policy. Again, something else I want to emphasize. We're not only looking for public health or health policy students. We are looking for scholars from various disciplines. And again, our definition of health and a culture of health is critical here. And I want to highlight that it's inclusive of mental health as a part of well-being. So how is underrepresented defined? We received many questions about this eligibility requirement for HPRS. This slide lists some examples of what we consider as underrepresented backgrounds. However, this list is not comprehensive. If you have read the call for applications and viewed a sample application and still are not sure whether your background would be considered to meet our definition of underrepresented or historically marginalized, please email us and we would be happy to confirm your eligibility. Here's just a small cross-section of our scholars and alumni from a wide range of fields, from biomedical engineering to psychology to architecture. The common thread among these scholars is their commitment to using their research to improve the health and well-being of communities through health policy. These are change agents committed to health equity and to building a culture of health. So what's it like to be in the Health Policy Research Scholars Program? During their time in HPRS, scholars receive a curriculum including courses in health policy, health equity, and population health. In addition to virtual course meetings, there are also in-person trainings where there are opportunities to network and learn face-to-face. We also provide leadership coaching and training, which is woven throughout the curriculum and begins in year one. Scholars receive support from a team of mentors during HPRS. They also have access to a range of resources during their time in the program, such as writing workshops and writing retreats, a competitive dissertation grants of up to $10,000, among other supports. Throughout their time in HPRS, scholars have opportunities to connect and collaborate with leaders from various fields. Now I'll turn it over to Lori to take us through the program structure in more detail and the application process.
Great, thank you so much, Keisha. While much of the HPRS program takes place in the virtual environment, HPRS and RWJF have adjusted, of course, our in-person meetings to be virtual over the past year and in the future until it's safe to meet in person again. This is a high-level overview of the HPRS program components. Throughout the first academic year, scholars will be expected to participate twice monthly in virtual classes or meetings. In a typical year, there are approximately 2 to 3 in-person activities, and most of those are 2 to 4 days long, except for the Summer Institute, which is 1 week long and is usually held during the month of July. So even though we usually meet in person just a few times throughout the year, our current scholars have been able to foster a strong sense of community through the virtual meetings and platforms that allow for active discussion and collaboration. HPRS is committed to creating and holding spaces that will foster connections within and across cohorts, whether we're meeting in person or virtually. So while we may be meeting virtually in the short term, the HPRS program curriculum is designed to be delivered via both online and in-person trainings in order to be as flexible as possible while providing opportunities for scholars to interact face-to-face and develop connections and collaborations across the HPRS network, as well as the greater network of RWJF leadership programs. In the first and the second year, the online courses are held during the evenings, twice per month, during the fall and spring semesters, and typically last between 75 and 90 minutes. These courses are designed to enrich scholars' doctoral studies and build upon their specific disciplines' theories and models of thinking. Some examples of courses and assignments include: what are social determinants of health? Framing policy problems, analyzing policies, writing a policy memo, policy communications, working effectively across sectors and disciplines, and connecting personal and professional values to leadership. In a cohort of 40, of course, we understand that there will not be a meeting time that will work for everyone. We expect that scholars will attend live sessions when there's a live lecture, and if they have a conflict, that they'll watch the lecture before the next session. For scholars that already have a background in public health and health policy, some of the information might be redundant. However, we do expect that all scholars will attend and actively participate in all HPRS activities. In addition to the 1-week Summer Institute, there are a few other required in-person meetings each year. These events may be held virtually or be available to attend virtually until it's safe to convene together in person. Whether in person or virtual or some combination of the two, the Fall Institute is a required meeting for scholars in their first year. The fall meeting is our first in-person contact with you in the program, and the agenda is designed to allow for ample time to meet with and to get to know your peers in the program and also the HPRS staff. The RWJF Annual Leadership Institute may take place in the spring of 2022. This meeting is typically about 4 days long and includes leaders from all 4 of the Leadership for Better Health programs that Keisha mentioned earlier. The Leadership Institute is an excellent opportunity to network across the programs and cohorts. The meeting includes shared learning on topics like health equity and building a culture of health. We also facilitate interactions between the HPRS cohorts by areas of interest to foster collaboration. There are various conferences and meetings throughout the year that might draw a contingent of scholars. So in those cases, we often meet informally, and occasionally we provide some specific programming for scholars at meetings like the Academy Health Annual Research Meeting, the American Public Health Association meeting, and the Interdisciplinary Association for Population Health Science meeting. Finally, HPRS sponsors writing retreats twice each year. These are 2.5-day meetings where scholars work with writing coaches, and they focus on a specific piece of writing while continuing to develop productive writing habits. Of course, for all required in-person meetings, HPRS or RWJF will cover the costs for attendance. The final component of the program that scholars typically don't encounter until their second year is the opportunity to compete for dissertation support. In order to be eligible, scholars must be working on a dissertation that is related to building a culture of health. There is a formal application process for this award that's facilitated by the HPRS staff. In addition to the competitive dissertation award, scholars may apply for several other supports, such as conference travel awards, biostatistical consulting awards, and research dissemination awards. Okay, so what makes a good application? Successful applications are complete. They are submitted on time and clearly answer each application question. We want you to articulate your goals and how HPRS will help you to achieve them. Now that you've heard a bit about the program and what you might expect as an HPRS scholar, here are some helpful resources to review as you begin your application. So the screenshot that you see there on the right is from the main RWJF page for the HPRS application. And that's the link there that you see in the middle of your screen. From there, you can review a whole bunch of different resources. You can view a full blank application. You can read the full funding opportunity, which is also sometimes called the CFA or the call for applications. You can review the FAQ, and there's also some application tips there on that page. So if you haven't yet, we are getting toward the end of our presentation, so please go ahead and use the Q&A to ask any questions that you might have regarding the program or the application process. We'll be turning to those in just a minute. Okay, so this applicant checklist details some of the main components that you'll find in the HPRS application. I'd like to highlight a couple things on the list that we most frequently receive questions about. I'll note a couple specific changes to this year's application compared to past years, and then we'll ask Mikkel to reflect on her HPRS application experience. So you'll see as you get started in your application, you'll complete some questions about eligibility. So in order to be eligible to apply to HPRS this year, you must meet all eligibility requirements. So for example, you must be entering your second year of doctoral study in the fall of this year and have at least 3 years of study remaining. So not expecting to finish your degree program until at least spring or summer of 2024. So this is a change from last year's application process where we accepted students who are entering either their second or their third year in fall of 2020. Next, you'll see that you need to select a home institution mentor. Many applicants choose their doctoral advisor to serve in this role. However, you can choose any faculty member at your institution who's willing to serve in this role for you and support your participation in HPRS if you're selected for the program. You can find more detailed information about what is required from the home institution mentor in that call for applications, the full funding opportunity. It's on page 5. It's important to note that you will need 2 people to provide references for your application. One must be from the person who's agreed to serve as your home institution mentor, and the second reference may come from any person who is your supervisor, mentor, peer, someone that you've led in a volunteer, academic, or professional role that can speak to your leadership capabilities and potential. This reference requirement is new this year. This replaces the need for letters of recommendation. So this year, instead of letters of recommendation, your references will respond to 3 questions directly into the application form. So it's really important that you invite your references and you confirm with them that they can access that online form well in advance of the deadline on March 17th. And that's something that you should be able to track and see whether they have accessed and submitted that information when you go into your online form. All supporting documents that are requested in the application are required. The exception is the appendix section. Most people will not submit something in the appendix. You may add a COVID impact statement there, or if you have a special circumstance, you might be instructed to add some documentation to the appendix to clarify some part of your application. So please do not submit documents like letters of reference or additional transcripts in the appendix section. They won't be reviewed as part of your application. If you have questions about the appendix or you do think that some part of your application may require some additional documentation, please contact the HPRS Program Center about your individual circumstance by email after the presentation. Keep in mind that the applicant essays are going to require some time and deeper thought. So the earlier you look at those, the better equipped you'll be to answer thoughtfully and completely. Lastly, applications are due on March 17th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, and we do not accept applications after this deadline. So please plan ahead to be sure that you submit your application on time. Now, I will turn it over to Mikkel to reflect on her experience with the application process last year. Mikkel, what do you think is important for applicants to keep in mind?
What I think is most important is that you don't wait to the last minute. I know, as graduate students, we say that we're going to do things ahead of time and it gets down to crunch time. I am a known procrastinator and I took the time to start early. And that was really helpful because there are bits and pieces of the application that you answer in the application versus like a separate document, right? So you go in there and it takes time to put in your name and check these boxes and write 4 to 5 sentences here and there. So really make sure that you start early and really kind of get a feel for the questions. Like no one likes to be blindsided the day they're submitting something or, the day they're planning on submitting something. So really, as soon as you can, open up the application and really look at the questions.
Thanks, Mikkel. Are there any other things that stand out to you when you look at the checklist here? Any advice that you would give besides the prep time?
I think as far as advice, especially for your mentor and second reference, I think for me, that was something that was a little worrisome for me. I was a first year student, still building relationships, still trying to figure out like who's the right person to ask and how to ask and things like that. Again, I think part of that goes with prep time, asking ahead, but also like don't worry too much about that part. I think for me, I was like, oh, like, how can I ask someone who doesn't really know me or something like that? But having those conversations, both with, my home institution mentor, who I had for 1 semester, just talking through like my plans and my goals and things like that. They were one more than willing to help me, and I think most faculty will be, but also they were really helpful in my application process, um, giving me tips, things that I should really highlight about my work or things that I should really highlight about my experiences. So I feel like if you try to isolate yourself like from that experience out of just general first year nerves or just not knowing all the people in your department yet, I do feel like that might stifle the experience and stifle your application process. So really reach out to these people, ask to sit with them, ask to talk to them, ask them to review some of your documents. I think all of that is really important for the application process as well.
Great, thanks so much, Mikkel. And we will proceed. We just have one more slide to talk through with some dates for your calendars, and then we will switch over and start going through some questions. Mikkel, I think there's probably a couple questions in here for you. All right. Here is the complete timeline for the application review period and when applicants should expect to hear about progressing to the next stage of the process. All applicants who progress from the application review will be invited and required to participate in a virtual interview during the month of May. That notification will happen via email in late April or early May, and interview scheduling will happen online soon after. All applicants will receive a notification at that time. So applicants who are not invited to interview will find out at about the same time as those who are. Finalists will be notified in mid-June, and then finalists will have a few additional weeks for the supplemental materials that need to be completed and submitted to the foundation. The program officially begins on September 1st for scholars accepted into the 5th cohort. The dates for the first 2 in-person experiences are listed there as well for your reference. Finally, here is our program contact information. The Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health houses the National Program Center for HPRS, and so all questions about the program and the application process should come to the National Program Center, which is the information that you see here on your screen. Thank you so much for joining us today. We will now turn to answer some questions that we received during the webinar registration, and then we'll start working our way through some of the questions we've received in the Q&A. So I'll get us started here. I have just a couple questions from the registration, and then we can turn to what's in the Q&A. So thanks everybody for all of the questions that are coming in. I hope we're able to get to most of them. And if we miss any, please don't hesitate to email or call us. Okay, so the first question I have here, if I am selected to HPRS, could I apply for other fellowship programs? The answer is yes, probably. If you are selected to HPRS and are considering applying for dissertation fellowship programs, we do ask that you review those programs with the HPRS staff, and we'll confirm with you that you may apply. In general, the answer is usually yes. But we want to make sure that you're able to continue participating in HPRS activities fully if you receive another award, and that there's not any budget-related implications between HPRS and some other award or fellowship. So if you're thinking of something in particular that would affect whether or not you would apply to HPRS, please contact us, and then we can go over those details together. Question, are there any specific research priorities in this funding cycle for HPRS? No, so we don't have any specific research priorities as part of the HPRS program application process. We are looking to create a cohort of scholars that have diverse research interests who will be change agents for more equitable and actionable research that will inform policy change. So you don't need to have your research interests, or your dissertation topic fully formed in order to apply for HPRS. It's not necessary to have experience in policy either of any kind to apply to HPRS. We're looking for you to use the application as an opportunity to describe why you're interested in HPRS and how your research could inform policy change. I think the last question that I'll address here from the registration is this one. And then Keisha, I will turn to you to share maybe some of the questions that have been coming in the Q&A. So the question is, I currently have a graduate research assistantship with waived tuition. Would I still be eligible for that GRA-ship if I earn this award? The answer is that the HPRS grant funding is not intended to replace any existing funding, like teaching assistantships, research assistantships, grants, or other supports that you might be receiving. The HPRS award, it should be stacked on top of any other funding that you might be receiving. So either as a funding package at your institution or from some other source. We really strongly encourage you to discuss the impact that having this award might have on any other assistance with your home institution before you submit your application. Okay, I will pause there. Keisha, can you tell me what questions are coming in?
We got a lot of questions, Lori. Thanks for answering those first ones. And so I've replied to a couple. I'm going to try to group these a little bit. And so this first question, and I'd love Mikkel also to comment here. So there's a question that asks, may I apply from coming from a natural science department and have no research ties to health? I'll begin and just say, yes, we are this program, even though it's called health policy, you don't need to have health policy or public health training or experience. You just need to be able to see how your research, how your discipline can advance a culture of health, can advance health equity. And I will say in our current cohort that started, Mikkel's cohort, only 25% of the participants in that cohort are from health-related backgrounds. The rest are from outside public health, so political science, laboratory sciences, biomedical engineering, psychology, sociology. And so, Mikkel, I'd love to hear your thoughts on somebody being from a non-health discipline. How did you think about whether or not your work fit with HPRS?
Absolutely. So I'm in sociology. And for me, I had the same, worries and thoughts. I was like, you know what, I'm interested in mental health. And that's something that seems more, social than natural sciences and things like that. I felt like, how would I be able to really tie in health as strongly as someone, who maybe studies cardiovascular health, right? And just and I always tell people this, since being a full HPRS scholar since October, I've already gained so much information about health, while also feeling like that side of health and understanding of cultural health is so important. I never felt like, oh, you do soft health, we do real health. It doesn't feel like that. We all work together and we are exchanging different things and talking to different people. So I say absolutely, apply. It doesn't, what we're doing, all of us, regardless of where we come from, is trying to build this culture of health, right? As cliche as it sounds, that's really the goal. And you can tell just by our interactions, with my cohort, with Keisha, when we have our different meetings, it's all very collaborative. So I never feel like, oh, this isn't really a space for me, or, oh, I don't do the work that others do, because we all value each other's input.
Thank you, Mikkel. That was great. There's several questions grouped around the travel. And so let me clarify. So the in-person trainings that require travel, they will probably not, I don't want to say they would never, but they would probably not be held at your home institution or anywhere near where you are. At your home institution. It could be at a city near where you are. I don't know. It really, look at a number of factors before we decide where to gather. But because we're in Baltimore, Maryland, you can imagine everybody coming to Baltimore, Maryland. I want to assure you that there are you should have no concerns about costs for these travels, these trips. You don't have to apply for financial support. We budget, we pay for this. We have travel support, travel agents who works with everybody. And so I just want to mention that Mikkel hasn't experienced that yet because her cohort started in the fall and we've been virtual because of the pandemic. But when it is possible to gather safely, there was no need for anyone to apply for financial support. But those meetings that are in person, that require your in-person participation, we will share where those meetings will be held. Our writing retreats that Lori mentioned, the last one we held in person was in Austin, Texas. And so people applied for that and we all flew to Austin and spent a few days there for the writing retreat. All right, let's see. And there's a lot of questions here. So again, if I don't get to them all, and again, I'm trying to group by topic here. We will certainly, we'll be posting a FAQ. And so we'll be able to look at to answer these questions. Let's see, there's some questions about, this relates to a point, Lori, a question you had around sort of people who are teaching or have other commitments and whether or not those can continue if they're selected for the program. So we have no requirement that if you're a teaching assistant at your university, you have to stop teaching. Our scholars certainly continue to be TAs. They have continued to be instructors. And so I have not seen that conflict at all. As Lori said, when we have required sessions, we record them all. And so we understand people's schedules might create a conflict, and we just require that people watch those recordings. So for anyone who has, again, a teaching obligation at their institution, we as a program don't require that you give those up in order to participate in HPRS. Maybe Mikkel, maybe I can turn to you for a question. And you spoke to this a little bit already during your comments, and I thank you for it. It was your questions about sort of thinking, there's a question in here, a few questions about thinking about your home institution mentor or whoever's gonna provide that recommendation for you, or just was curious if you can reflect a little bit more around sort of how did you go about picking your home institution mentor? Because in theory, you could have picked anybody. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Sure. So for me, picking my home institution mentor was kind of a different process. I guess like I said, if I'm being 100% transparent, I was a little shy about who to ask or what the right approach was to ask, right? So I met with my advisors and they were like, well, who are you thinking about asking? So that's like my first note, like, again, be as open with, the people, I would say the people in my corner, like they really helped me through this process, right? So I was open with them from the beginning, like I want to apply for this. I'm thinking about adding this angle and doing this and that, and they really helped me through the process. And then deciding on my home institution mentor was, I think for me, factors that I really looked like to the future for. So for me, I worked with someone in my department who was my stats professor. I'm not, full disclosure, not the 100% the best at stats, but for me, my relationship with her addressing my questions in class, always being available for office hours, she had guided me in a way that I wasn't really sure I needed. So when I went to her and I was like, hey, like I'm thinking about doing this, like, what are your thoughts? She again provided me that mentorship, that leadership. She was like, oh, I can just be a letter of rec if you need. And I was like, well, I'm kind of thinking about this. And she was open to that. So I think for me, what really helped me through that process was being really open with the people that I was communicating with about what I wanted, and addressing like my needs and my goals for the application process, but also for, like the entire journey, like what it means for me to have this home institution mentor and what they're going to do for me. And like, she was really big on, well, how can I help you in this process, right? So that's how I ended up deciding on my home institution mentor. But a big part of that was just the people that I talk to regularly, advisors, even my cohort mates, being open about the process and kind of planning ahead, but then being really open with my goals and what I feel like I needed.
Great, thank you, Mikkel. That's really helpful. I'm noticing a few questions about the cohort, and I want to speak to this one. There is certainly an emphasis given on having a diverse cohort. And so to that point, we do seek participants from a variety of eligibility areas. So different races, different ethnicities, different schools coming from rural areas, urban areas, individuals with disabilities, again, broad. We seek to have a diverse cohort. And so I just really want to emphasize that. We all have a role to play in advancing health equity and building a culture of health. So in addition to those different eligibility areas, we are also, again, are seeking different disciplines. I want to say one more time, because I do see some questions about this, we are not only seeking people from health and health-related fields. As I said in Mikkel's class, only 25% of them are from health or health-related fields. Everyone else is from another discipline. So if you're from a non-health discipline, that is a strength. Please don't think of it as a limitation to your application. Again, we're looking for a variety of disciplines in this program. All right, let's see. So there's a few questions about people who are interested in international work and health policy and health equity on an international scale. Are you still eligible? So yes, you're still eligible as long as you can talk about how what we can learn globally has applications to here in the US. So the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation mostly focuses on health and healthcare in the US. They do have some work focused on global solutions for health and health equity issues in the US. And so it's about application. So for those of you who are interested in health policy change and health equity on an international scale, I would encourage you to think about and articulate how that work that you're doing globally can inform and advance a culture of health in the US. And I'm just going through this. Lori, if you see anything, please, let's see. When is the in-person meeting going to be? I assume you mean, and maybe you asked this before this slide came up, but let me just go back one. And so when you look at the timeline for the new cohort, so right now we know that there will be we're hoping an in-person experience October 7 through 10, 2021. And we hope it's in person in Baltimore. If not, it'll be virtual. And then we will have, we don't know when this Leadership Institute will occur. One of the things we do is provide dates as soon as we have them available. So we will certainly get those to individuals as quickly as soon as we can. But the first in-person experience is in October 7 through 10, and that's the Fall Institute for the new cohort.
Keisha, I'll jump in with a question. Someone is wondering what types of jobs people get after HPRS. So I just wanted to share, I guess, a couple things that we know our most recent graduates are doing. And then Keisha, if you have anything additional to add, please do. There are several people doing postdocs at all different places. People are at national institutes. A few people have government positions. There are scholars working in consulting at nonprofits, quite a few assistant professors. Trying to think of anything else. Keisha, am I missing anything?
I think you hit those were some good examples, Lori. I would just say we don't expect graduates who are from HPRS to go to any specific sector or any specific type of job. And so it's, as Lori mentioned, there's a range of positions. But I will say a constant thread is a commitment to conducting policy relevant research or policy and systems change and health equity. I would say sort of a consistent theme across all of those various jobs.
Thanks, though. Thanks so much. One question that's coming up is around the eligibility requirements, particularly for students that are going into their third year in the fall, and also the anticipated graduation date in spring summer 2024. So just wanted to clearly state again that in order to be eligible to apply for this year, students must be entering their second year or be considered by their department, their institution, as a second year student in their doctoral program in the fall of 2021, and also be not anticipating to graduate before spring summer 2024. And that is because the core programming for HPRS takes place in years 1 through 3. So you need to be able to participate in at least 3 years of HPRS.
Lori, can I hop in and ask a question to Mikkel that came up? I think is a really great one.
That would be great.
So Mikkel, there's a question here that says, how has HPRS changed how you think about your dissertation work?
Okay, so first of all, like this is like a total shameless plug. Like I've met with so many people, you know, like I said, people that, you know, I know a lot of sociologists and like criminologists because that's what my department does. But like I've met with clinical psychologists, like other people in my cohort, clinical psychologists, school psychologists, public health people. Like there's so many people. So like so many different like ideas and outputs and just angles from my dissertation have, you know, I'm not gonna say been changed, but I was like, oh, you know what? I never thought about this. Like I was only looking at this aspect, but my friend who's in school psychology was like, oh, like, girl, have you looked at this? And like, oh, so many different things have been added just for being here. So like, that's been a big plus for me. I have also just been able to, like I said, bounce ideas off of people just because, you know, you talk, especially right now, being on Zoom all the time, like it can get isolating, and sometimes your ideas even get kind of like siloed with yourself. I mean, this is a great idea or a bad idea, but being able to talk through it with different people, with different backgrounds and just different ideas, different backgrounds academically, but also like, you know, different backgrounds growing up, just different thought processes has been so helpful for me. In developing my dissertation work and like thinking of where I want to go or what angle I want to use. It's been really, really great having so much input and just people to like depend on, from literally my cohort mates all the way up to the top. Like all of that stuff has really mattered for my few months in the program.
Thank you, Mikkel. And I'll just share for scholars that are sort of further along in their doctoral program in HPRS, I can tell you several stories of people who've changed their dissertation topics or to include more health-related concepts or measures even. And for people who maybe haven't changed their dissertation topic, they now though can talk about how their topic is relevant for policy change. And they talk about how they're able to work on other projects. You know, this year, for example, we funded research projects. We actually had a competitive application process where where scholars got to work together across various years, any cohort, to write grants for research projects that would advance anti-racism and or address the impacts of COVID or understand COVID. And so we actually funded 16 projects. And so these are competitive awards that scholars can put on their CV. We funded 13 for teams and 3 to individuals. And we are thrilled by what we received. And to Mikkel's point, they're all multidisciplinary. And so we have people working across sectors, across disciplines, really tackling important health equity issues. And so even if somebody's dissertation hasn't changed, the opportunity to work with other people from the program on important policy issues, we create that. So we create lots of opportunities for that. And I'm noticing the time, we have just a few minutes left. Lori, do you have time for a few more questions or?
Yes, are you seeing
anything
in particular?
I'll say there's one here about how refined should your research interests be prior to applying. I would say we are not looking for you to say this is what my dissertation research will be, right? Like, so that's not what we're looking for. What we're looking for is an understanding of how your research, how the work you're doing could be used to advance health equity and build a culture of health. And for those of you who joined late or are unsure of what we mean when we say build a culture of health, please look at the website and look at the application materials. There's a definition there. And we just want you to be thinking about how your work can help to achieve the program goals, how you are the type of leader that we're looking for, as I shared earlier in one of the slides. And again, we will be sharing a recording of this webinar, and the slides will be posted on the website for anyone who had questions about that.
Maybe one more, or I'll sort of condense a couple questions into one. How would you advise both the applicants or home institution mentors if their CVs are over the limit that we accept? So we only accept up to 4 pages of a CV for applicants and up to 12 pages for the home institution mentor. If people need to do some edits, what would you suggest that they focus on?
That's a good question. So edits for mentors, and I get this. My CV is about 60 pages, and so I think for a program like this, I would like to see their involvement with students, in their program. And so, when I've been asked to condense my CV for something like this, I usually lift up my contributions to the educational mission, and so, or my advising experience or my mentoring experience. I certainly just who I am as a scholar, as a researcher. I would say, the thing to keep in mind is that, we do, if for your home institution mentor, they are providing us some comments about you, right, as an applicant. And so that could be a place too, where if there are some specific things that maybe they couldn't highlight on their CV, they could, make sense to sort of lift up. That's a place where that could go. But I would say just encourage your mentor to think about who they are as a scholar, as an academic, and to lift up the places in their CV that they think best aligns with how they support students, how they contribute to the educational mission of their institution.
Okay. All right. Yes. We are right up against time here. Want to pause and make sure, particularly if there's any questions in here that we could ask Mikkel to reflect on. I just want to make sure that we get to those. Do you see anything else, Keisha?
I think I got the questions that were all for Mikkel in particular. Maybe Mikkel, if you want to, close us out with any final thoughts about your experience applying, or any insights you want to share beyond what you've shared before since you've been a scholar.
Sure. So I think the first one, apply, definitely applied. If I know for me, I was like, well, should I apply? Is this good for me? Am I taking the space of a real health scholar? No, apply. You're supposed to be applying. Absolutely. With COVID, our, cohort 2020, it's been different for us, but I do think that just goes to show how dedicated HPRS is to making sure that, we're all comfortable and what I would say, growing and glowing, all of that's really important. And I've seen that, firsthand with the countless events and opportunities to work with one another, even through, everything that's happened in 2020, right? So I've experienced that all online, and I know I can't wait to experience those moments in person. So I just think for anybody thinking of applying, the dissertation and the schoolwork and the classes all matter, but literally the community building that I've done over the past couple of months and just getting to know so many great scholars and people and networking is just really been an experience I didn't see coming throughout the process. So I really am grateful for that. And I know that anybody who has the opportunity to be a part of HPRS is really going to love that as well.
Great. Well, thank you so much. And on behalf of the HPRS National Program Center, I thank you for your time today. And I will pass it to Lori to send us out.
Yes, I just want to echo my thanks for your time. Thank you, Mikkel, for being here. Thank you, everyone who joined us. Thank you for your questions. If we missed anything, please reach out to us. We'll be on Twitter after this at the HPRS office hours, and we're always available at hprs@jhu.edu. Thanks so much. Take care.